Alright, welcome everyone. My name is K. Michael Russell. I am a comic book colorist, and welcome to my YouTube channel. So this is going to be a critique video. Before we get started though, it's just after Christmas right now, so Merry Christmas for those of you, or Happy Hanukkah, Kwanzaa, whatever it is that you're celebrating. I have a new gift that I'm going to turn on now. There we go. I have a new light, so you can see me. I'm not sitting in the dark anymore. It actually improves the picture quality quite a bit, I think. So thanks to my wife for that. And it's very bright. If I can get used to it, it's like I don't need. If I look at it, I see little spots for 5 minutes, so I should not do that. But so this is going to be a critique video, and I wanted to let you guys know I'm also going to be editing these videos a little bit less because I don't know what's going on exactly, but I'm having some sort of medical issue with my shoulders and my hands, and it's a little scary because holding a pen or holding a mouse for very long, my grip starts getting very weak and my shoulders hurt quite a bit. So I'm not going to be cutting out all of the ums and ahs that I usually do. I'm just kind of let this run and try to spend as little time as I can editing. I mean, there will still be some editing, but I've been doing a little bit more of that lately, and you won't see as much of that. So anyway, apologies for that ahead of time. So I'll try not to just sit here in silence too much. So this is from Randall. Randall's a student in my... You guys aren't seeing anything. Let's do this. There we go. So this is from Randall. This is a page from Hackslash that I worked on this book. It's my first image book. Actually, this is the first issue, and the art for this is available in the course. And Randall's a student there, and he's made a lot of progress the last couple of months. And this is a page he did recently, and I thought it had some good examples of things I could show you guys. And I'll also show you what I did, and we'll get to that too. So first off, we've got this scene where... Let's do this. We've got this scene where we have, a cemetery at night. And then we've got our gentleman here with the flashlight. And he's going to be attacked by these little monsters. And oh crap, there's little monsters. And then the thing's crawling out of the ground. That's kind of what's happening in this scene. And... the first panel actually reminded me of something, and I don't know if I ever brought this up in the channel or not, but it reminded me of when I got a critique from Dave Stewart, which was tremendous. If you don't know Dave Stewart, you should look him up. He's probably the greatest colorist of all time. And he did a portfolio review for me at Emerald City. And this was one of the pages that I showed him. And... the one thing he said about this first panel, he said he liked all the rest of these panels, but he said there's nothing that really grabs your eye in that panel. So, it's all pretty much the same color. There's not a lot of contrast at any point. There's nothing that's way darker. There's no hue that's different. It's all pretty static. And my thought was, these are things I talk about all the time, and making sure that like this guy is darker than the rest of the background, or, this background here is light enough so these characters stand up, I'm like, I know these things, right? But what I was thinking when I colored this panel was that it was really just an establishing shot. And I was thinking, well, there's not really like a focus in this panel. Like it's the scene. It's setting the scene. There's no important character. There's no important thing happening. And so I left it sort of intentionally vague. And what he told me was, even in a scene like this, you should still give the reader something to focus on, And this critique happened last year at Emerald City, was that 17? Was that this year? Maybe it was this year. But that really hit home, and I've tried to keep that in mind. So even if there's an establishing shot, give the reader something to sort of focus on. It's something for their eye to be drawn toward, so that they're not just wandering all around the panel trying to figure out what they should be looking at. And that's exactly what I thought about when I saw this first panel he did is, it's a night scene, and it's all pretty much one color, but there's really nothing here that really jumps out at you. Okay, he could have easily, made this first panel or this first little section of tombstones and this little statue here, just going a little bit brighter in those areas. Just it doesn't have to be this bright, just making the point, but it would give the reader something to pull their eye into that spot, or into that area. The other thing that I noticed was there's not a lot of difference between like the fence here that you guys are seeing here, this little iron fence. It's all pretty much the same color as the background. I mean, it's a little bit darker, but not much. So when you zoom out a little bit, it's not really creating a whole lot of depth. And what Emilio did when he drew this is, he put these things to sort of frame this scene. Same thing in the second panel. You've got this, tombstone and these trees here, and then you've got this statue here. It's prime element to create depth. And that's something you see a lot of artists do, is they'll put things in the front, put things in the back, so that it's more realistic and it creates more depth. And the colorist should help sell that. And the same thing in this second panel. All this stuff's pretty much, all this stuff's pretty much the same color, from here to back here. So instead of creating depth, it's flattening everything, okay? And so if this were reality, this would have, there be some atmosphere back here. And so all of this area back here would be less saturated, less contrast, all that sort of stuff. And that's part of the storytelling part of being a colorist. Yes, he stayed in the lines beautifully. Yes, it's a pretty cool palette, but those storytelling elements are really what's really important in creating depth and things like that. The other note that I had for him was, and this is minor, but this little area here where this grave has been dug is sort of lost. So make that darker or something, in order to make that stand out a bit more. And in this panel, I don't think there's quite enough contrast between the the character here and the background. You could really push that with darker colors back here, and that would also make these guys stand out a bit more. Minor thing, but easy to fix. The other two panels I like. This purple color to me doesn't seem to fit on his shirt. It seems a little bit like it doesn't fit in the environment. It's probably a little too saturated. That's a very minor thing, but I don't even know if I brought it up to him in the critique, but I was noticing that today. And the other thing was there are no glows on top of the lines. And where you have like a flashlight like that, that's kind of a perfect opportunity to do like a subtle glow over the lines, so that you're really selling that this is a light source. Same thing up here in this panel. Emilio has drawn very lightly, the beam of light from this flashlight. So you could, help sell that a little bit more by putting a little globe there on top of the lines. But other than that, I actually like how simplified the palette is. And I don't know if he saw my page, but there's a lot of similarities with the way that I did it originally. And so I thought, I haven't looked at my page in a while. Let me go back and see what it looks like. And the funny thing about it is I did the same things for the most part. So, 3 years, it's been almost 4 years since I colored this, and I've learned a lot. And a lot of the things that I brought up to him as being problematic, I pretty much did the same stuff. This fence here is about the same color as what's going on back here. There's maybe a little bit more focus in the middle there, but not enough. I did go a little bit darker on this person in the front, but again, when you're first starting out, you're afraid to really do anything dramatic. I think a lot of new colorists are, and myself included. So I should have pushed that a little bit more. And I also didn't leave enough contrast over here so that you can really see that hole there. You know, I should have lit all this up more so that that hole is a little bit clear, because this is what he's looking at in the panel, and it is a graveyard. So again, my gripe with his panel is very similar to what I would say to mine here. Now, I did do a slightly better job probably of having more contrast on these guys, but it's still, I should have darkened up these areas back here. I think that would have made that panel work a little bit better. The other thing that I noticed here, now Emilio is an amazing artist and inker, and he was really good at using these, they call these spot blacks, you know, these big heavy black shadows. It's kind of a lost art with a lot of new inkers and pencilers these days. But I didn't really use this rim light that he left space for, and it would have created a lot more contrast between here and here, but I didn't use it. I should have. I should have used a little bit of a rim light, and that would have helped frame what's happening back here. And what I mean by that rim light is, you know, go brighter with something. I actually have these inks. I don't know why I'm drawing on top. But yeah, you know, do something like that. I'm just doing this really quickly. But that would help, you know, create some more depth and some more contrast there. So you can see that in the inks. I just didn't do anything with it. So this was literally the first issue, or actually the second full issue, I think, of anything I ever did. So I'm going to give myself that out there. And I'm actually pretty happy with this last panel still. I think there's still, it's all a little too similar. It's a lot of the same, very, very similar colors happening here. So I could have pushed that a little bit more. So, you know, what would I have done if I were given a chance to kind of redo these? And I put this together really quickly just to show you guys what I mean. So now what I've done here is I've just put just a solid color adjustment layer on this. And the way to do that, below my face over here, there is this little half moon symbol, semicircle. So if you click that and then click solid color, that'll create just a solid color layer. I'm going to put that under the ink so you guys can see it. And then I just used a mask to control where I wanted it to go. Okay, so by default the mask is white, which means you're seeing it everywhere. So all I did was I went to my flats and I selected all of these areas in the front that I want to frame this area. I actually don't want that. I'm just using the lasso, holding down shift and clicking all these little areas. Then I'm going to hold down alt and get rid of all of this part here. Let me zoom out, make sure I'm not missing anything. Just get rid of everything except those two things here. I'll go ahead and get the the fence here too, in the first panel. Then I'm going to go back to that solid color layer, go to the mask, not the color, but the little mask, little white triangle there. And I'm just going to hit the mask button, which is below my face, right. This is hard to do, right there. The little triangle, the little rectangle with the circle in it. And click that. Whoops, it didn't work. Try that again. Why is that not working? Try this again. Let's delete the mask. There we go. So I deleted the mask and then hit that button. And now you can see those two colors have just filled those areas that I selected. Now that's what I did, except I did it on the blue one here. Now, so now those blue areas are sort of framing the action in the panel, and cool colors have this property where you tend to look past them. They tend to recede. Like, even though they're in the front and they're in the foreground, your eye tends to look past them if there are brighter colors behind them. So that's a trick that I use all the time. And if you look through a lot of comics, you'll see that. You'll see that the colorists will, if they want you to look past something, a lot of times it'll be a cool color, you know. So anyway, now I could have gone in here and I could try different, you know, layer modes. Like maybe I try, you know, multiply or overlay or something. You know, these just kind of depends on what the look you're going for. There's not really a right answer. For multiply, that's way, way too dark. I would have to change the color for multiply. So I'd have to pull it way up here and get a lot brighter with it if you're going to use multiply. But the effect is kind of similar. Pretty cool, right? So I think that pretty much that, you know, dramatically improves the look of those two panels, and it didn't take hardly any time to do. Now I didn't really go in and make adjustments to the rest of these, but I think you guys kind of get the idea. So yeah, that is the critique for Randall today. And if you guys want to get your own critiques like this, the place to do that is in my course. I do it for everybody that posts work there. The ones that I do on YouTube, I just kind of handpick because I get so many emails and comments from people asking to critique their work. And sometimes if I have time and nothing else is pressing, like I'll usually do one freebie for some at times. But the only way to get one, like guarantee to get one, is to either go through my course, either one, and there's a discussion section there. And I always ask permission. I asked Randall if he'd mind if I shared this with you guys, and I thought it had a good lesson, so he didn't care. So he was actually, he said he can do it anytime. So I'm going to take him up on that. So I hope you guys enjoy the critique, and you can enjoy this new fancy end screen that I have coming right up. And we'll see you in the next one. Take care. Enjoy the new light too.